How to beat blue-purple Luffy with red Zoro leader. At the start of OP11 meta there was this misconception that Zoro, just because he's an aggro deck, counters blue-purple Luffy, like for example Bello Betty. However, once blue-purple Luffy players adjusted the deck list, it's actually at best 50-50 in my opinion, and if the list is optimized, I think Luffy has advantage. So let's take a look how can we beat this leader using Zoro. And to understand how to beat him, first we need to understand how we lose against this leader. The key cards that we should be careful of are 3-cost Zoro Juro. The problem with this card is that they can play it on the second turn going first, and with the stat line of 4000 power, Zoro Juro can attack any of our rested characters, mostly without Dawn investment, and on top of that he will speed up ramping of the Dawn of blue-purple Luffy with each attack. The second problematic card is Godfred, and this is a 5-cost event that on the main cast KO up to one of our opponent characters with a cost 5 or less, and the problem is in Zoro deck most of our characters are below 5 cost, so they can target everything, and on top of that they add up one Dawn card from the Dawn deck and set it as active. So this is also a very problematic card. As we can see, this is 5 cost, so can be played the turn after the Zoro Juro to get advantage on board and also ramp one Dawn. So the blue-purple Luffy is getting closer to stabilizing with his leader's effect and big drops, and in the same time they clear our board. The next annoying card that blue-purple Luffy adapted in the lists is Thunder Bagua, and this is a counter event of the cost of 2 to give one of the leader of or characters plus 4000 power during the battle, but the important part is that if they are on 2 or less life cards, they add up one Dawn card from the Dawn deck rested. And for blue-purple Luffy this is very easy condition to meet because he starts as 3 life leader, so they need to just take one attack to have Thunder Bagua active. So be careful when they leave 2 Dawn open. And then obviously the last card is Charlotte Linlin, that is 9 cost, 9000 power. Once Luffy is able to play 2 of them in a row, it's basically game over, because for a cost of -1 Dawn and trashing a card from hand, they can remove one of our characters from the field and put it in our life cards, and on top of that heal 1 life. So this is the main win condition for the Luffy in this matchup. And I would like to bring your attention to something interesting that we see on the board right now. The progression of Luffy in this matchup can be really deadly, because if they go first, okay, on 1 Dawn, they don't do anything. Then the next turn, they are at 3, they can play Zoro Juro. Then when we fast forward to the 5 Dawn, if we have anything on board and they KO it with the Godfred, on top of that they can also ramp 1 Dawn card as active, and if they also perform the attack of the Zoro Juro, they get another active Dawn. And can you see what just happened? They potentially clear the rested characters from our board if we have any, and on top of that they removed 1 active character with a Godfred, and by doing all of that they are still up 2 active Dawn from both of those cards. So as we can see, 2, 4, 5 from the turn, and now apparently they are at 7 Dawn. But this is not over yet, because once they pass the turn to us, if they are with the perfect hand and they have Thunder Bagua in hand, something really destructive can happen, because if they counter one of our attacks, be it leader attack or any remaining character, then they will ramp another Dawn if they took previous attack to life and they are at 2 life. And this is the back-breaking situation, because on their turn they start the turn with 2, 4, 5 plus 3, 8 Dawn. So the leader's effect is already active. So they start generating the cards, stacking the top of the deck, and if on this turn they untap with 8 Dawn. After the leader's effect, they get another 2, so they are already at 10. So they are already in the range of the Charlotte Lin Lin. So on 4th turn, going first, they can start already stabilizing. If they see this perfect curve, then we will have really bad time and the game will be unwinnable. There is also consideration when Luffy is going second. Maybe the turns are not so crazy, but there are 2 cards worth mentioning. One of them is the Bonkley, so simple 4-cost character that is ramping 1 Dawn for Luffy on the 2nd turn going second, so it means on the next turn they will be on the 7 Dawn already, and they have some attacker that can copy the stat line and remove something from the board, and because the next turn they are on 7 Dawn, it pairs nicely with the Gravity Blade, so they can remove 2 characters from our board and start stabilizing from the next turn, so something to be mindful of if we are going first and Luffy is going second, that they still have some outs to play besides the previously mentioned cards. So based on that information that we just analyzed, I really encourage you, if you win the dice, choose to go first as Red Zoro to avoid this perfect curve from blue-purple Luffy and to have a good fighting chance into this leader. Obviously, if they go first and we go second, there are some tricks that we can do that I will show later to still have good chances in the matchup, but I would like to focus now on the key cards for Zoro in this matchup, and later I will show you turn by turn play to generate advantage. Because blue-purple Luffy is 6000 power leader, we really value the 5000 base power characters. Obviously the main character in ZORO deck is Tony Chopper that can summon his friends on our own play or when attacking, and that's really fortunate that he has 3-cost 5000 power, so with just 1 Dawn under our leader we can trade for 1 card with Luffy. And the same goes for second key card, that is Roronoa Zoro, the classic rusher, 3-cost 5000 power. We can play him and directly attack if we have Dawn under our leader for another 6000 power, because the key strategy here is to generate as many attacks as possible as early as possible. If we let blue-purple Luffy stabilize, then we cannot get back to the game. Then another 2 key cards will be our searchers, 1-cost searchers to have the first turn play and to search for our Chopper or Zoro if needed. And not only that, we can really easy buff our searchers to swing for 6k with another key card that is Makino. If we rest Makino, we get buff plus 3000 power on our 1-cost red character. And with Dawn under the Zoro, this is the 6k attack into Luffy, so another chance for the 6k attack to get another card from their hand. And if we speak about 1-cost cards, we have obviously our event that is crucial to fill up the board, 1-cost counter event that allows us to find, for example, this Chopper and play him as active if our opponent attacks. And this is also one of the main targets for the search from Nami and Dr. Kureha for the pickup. And then another strong card is this Tone Chopper that was printed in EBO2, because when we play him, we get 1 rested Dawn to our character or leader. And important thing here is that this Chopper can be play rested from Tony Chopper and still resolve on play effect. So it means that on our second turn going first, if we are lucky enough, if we play Chopper into the Chopper, we can still attack with our leader and already ask for 1 card from our opponent. And as I already said, it's crucial to start attacking as early as possible and start asking for those cards. And then another 1-cost card is this Blocker Chopper. Not many players play him, I think, at least in the West, but it was really popular in Asia. And for a good reason. If you expect a lot of blue-purple Luffy, this little guy is really helpful, because with this one simple blocker we can save one of our key attacker characters, and for a cost of just one card. And Luffy, if they don't see the perfect curve, they have early turns where they attach a lot of Dawn to the leader and just swing over our characters to keep the tempo. However, if we play this Tony Chopper, either from the event, maybe he was played before rested from the free cost chopper, or maybe we just hard cast him from the hand, we can just trade one card for infinite counter in a sense to save our key attacker. Really great card. Later I will show you some interesting combos, how to utilize it to the full potential. So those cards are generally good regardless of going first or second, but there is one card that really shines if we need to go second, and this is this 2-cost Sanji. It's a 2k counter, 3000 power character. What is really important here is the activate main effect, because once per turn we can add one top card of our life to the hand, and then this character gains plus 2000 power, and in addition to rested Dawn are being attached to him. And this is really key into Luffy, because one of the strategies that also goes around is that Luffy starves the opponent, especially aggro deck like ZORO, so we don't get the resources to push the early and mid game to win. But this Sanji solves this issue, because with the Dawn under the leader we have 6k swing. If we use Sanji effect with 2 rested Dawn attached and plus 2000 power and 1000 power from leader, we will also swing for 8000 power into the Luffy, which will be the magic number because it's 2000 power more than the leader power. And on top of that we are getting resources that our opponent tried to starve us, and we take them to the hand to keep populating the board and pushing the life. So before we go into turn by turn play, I would just to highlight once again that we really want to go first against this leader, so let's focus on this turn order first. So let's start with really simple progression. When going first, we start with 1 Dawn, and we want to play our searcher. And once we play it, like I said before, the key target to search here will be this Tony Chopper. If it's not available, then we need to take other targets, like for example ZORO and so on. But if we want to have the best chance of winning, we need to either have the chopper in our starting hand or search him from Nami. And here's something important: if we already have one free cost character like Chopper or ZORO, we really want to take another one, because we will want to play them twice in a row, that I will show in a second. So keeping in mind that if you can either of those two characters early in hand, then we are in a good position, because we can play 2 strong characters back to back that can attack 6000 power into the leader. So then on the free Dawn we have some options. Let's keep the simple game plan first without any cheesy strategy. I will show it later, but in the general progression, normally we would play Tony Chopper here, and the opponent's board should be empty because Luffy doesn't have anything that impactful to play on the 2 Dawn turn. And once we play the Chopper, the target that we are aiming for, because we are tapped out and we can't attack the leader yet, we want to find this Chopper to play rested, or alternative, if we have this Chopper in hand, we can search for this Chopper, because this Chopper can summon this one standing. So this would be our high roll. Sometimes it happens and then we are really happy, but for the case of the presentation, let's assume a little slower start and just this Chopper on board rested. Then we activate on play effect to attach the Dawn to leader and swing 6k to Luffy. Obviously we pray, if they take the damage, to don't have any trigger that our Chopper will be removed, but we cannot really control it, so we just swing and pray. So then it will be the turn from Luffy. The most popular plays that he can do is to play either Zorojuro or Bonkley and start ramping, and most likely they will clear our character from the board with simple attack, and we don't really want to protect this chopper because it's not worth the resources. So then back into our turn, we will untap with this board state. Let's assume that Luffy played Bonkley to have something on board to not make this game too easy, but normally if they miss on 4th on turn either Bonkley or Zoro Juro, we are really happy, even if they go with some different ramping event, because it's one less attack. So now we should be on 5 dawn, and 5 dawn is really interesting turn with such setup. So what we can do, let's separate the dawn to present it better. So like I said, we want to play the 3 cost character, and it can be either another chopper or Zoro. So if we high roll and have another chopper, obviously we will play the chopper, because then we have a chance for another rested dawn attached to our leader. But to keep the scenario a little bit more realistic, let's assume that we have a Zoro in hand and not another chopper, and to play it only with the visible dawn without assuming the rested chopper that attach rested dawn. So we attach to the leader as always, and to play around any triggers we want to start swinging with this chopper first, even though we don't have the rested dawn for attachment. Against Luffy it doesn't really matter if you attack for 6000 power, 7000 power, we just want to get cards out of his hand as soon as possible. And then the character that we will summon here, let's assume that it will be an 4000 chopper, it doesn't really matter here, so I will put just this one, and let's say I don't have anything in hand to play, so we then just resolve the damage, see if they counter or take life, and then we obviously swing with our leader. We have already done attach, so this is the second 6k swing. Then we can follow up with the Zoro swing if we wish to for another 3 dawn, so third attack for 6k, and then we have 1 dawn. And the most popular scenario that you will find yourself into is that you will have either of those 3 cards, so you can make your choice based on your hand. If we want to push another damage, then obviously we will choose Makino, just play Makino, rest her, and then we buff the Nami, and Nami swings for another 6k. And this is a very interesting board state that we created now, because as you can see at this point we have full board and we have 5 characters rested. And what is really important to remember in this matchup is that if your character can attack twice, especially your key characters, then you are in a good spot. So in this situation, on their next turn, they either need to use the gravity blade to clear 2 of them and perform 2 attacks to manage this board, which is not always the case, especially if they had to counter or take the life. So this is perfect scenario for us. Another possibility is that we don't have Makino here, so we might be keeping the dawn for the counter event, and then we are also happy because it doesn't matter into what our opponent attacks, then we can play something from our deck standing, and the best target will be obviously this chopper again. And the last simple scenario is that we have this blocker chopper that I mentioned at the start of the video, and we can play him to make it easier to protect the characters, because again, if we have this chopper at the board, as you can see, they will have 2 swings plus an event. So the best case scenario, they will have gravity blade, so they can remove 2 characters, let's say, probably Zoro and Chopper, and then they still need to swing with their characters, and 1 attack we are always blocking, and another we can easy counter from hand. So it depends on your opponent how the board state will look in the next turn. And the next turn will be really crucial for our opponent, because depending on their hand and resources that we can pay attention during the game they need to make some choices, especially if we play the blocker, keep the Don up, or play the Machino. They have a lot of targets on the board that they need to take care of. And this is the turn when we really want to counter anything that is possible to counter from our hand, because we need to anticipate that they might play an event. So it might be already mentioned Gravity Blade, or it might be the Red Rock or anything else, maybe the Godthread to ramp and so on. So we need to expect that after this turn they start playing the Big Mom. So this is crucial. Evaluate your hand. Don't be afraid to dump your hand here just to protect the board state, because at this point, after so many attacks, they should be around 1 life or maybe even 0 life if they were unlucky or didn't have any Dawn open for an event. Because you need to understand that Luffy is really weak against 6000, 7000 power attacks, because they want to rely also on the events. Gum Giant, Gear 2 and so on. So when players are attacking 8000 power into the Luffy, often it's a mistake, especially when you play aggro deck like Zoro, because 8k is really easy to counter with just Gear 2. They don't need to go with Gum Giant. That's why 7k swings at max are better than 8000 swings. So keeping in mind, because the next turn afterwards, depending what you saved on your board, let's say you saved those two, now the calculations start, because they will be rested, okay, whatever. But here you need to start thinking, how are we setting up the lethal, because we have more Dawn to use. And here we have too many possibilities to show all of them, but I would like you to really carefully think, how do you want to go about your attacks. If you can split the Dawn between the characters, it's better to go with more, usually it's better to go with more 7k attacks than 8k attacks, especially if they have the Dawn open, because 7k attack, first of all, is lower investment, second of all, gives you a better read of the hand. If they start using the events, it might be that they don't have the 2k counters, so if they rest their Dawn, they use the Gear 2 for example, then you know that if you continue pushing for 7k, you might get some free hits into them, or even win the game by turn 4. I did it many times before against this leader, so sometimes you just need a little bit of luck and you can win the game out of nowhere. Another thing to consider here is, how do you want to manage your rushers, like Zoro or Kid Killer. That is really good into this leader. Then obviously you have an 8k swing, so you will swing 8k with Kid Killer, and if you have 2-cost Sanji, you will swing 8k with Sanji as well, because this is the minimum value that they can swing for. But those are the exceptions. Other than that, focus on 6k, 7k attacks. One more thing to consider, let's say that our game didn't went as planned and they dropped the 9-cost mom or clean our board and so on, then we need to know what to do at our Tendon turn. So depending on the situation and what your opponent already did, a lot of times it's really smart to just attach one Dawn to the leader, just ask for one card 6x6 and then spend the rest of the Dawn for your character's standing. This is the crucial skill that will come with experience, but you need to understand when to keep your characters standing. So for the remaining 9 Dawns, let's say I can play this chopper, maybe I high roll and I have in hand already this chopper that can bring another one, and let's play another Zoro, and this chopper, let's say, missed the target. So we populated the board now and we are not swinging with Zoro here, because we want to ensure as many attacks as possible to finish the game the next turn, because once the second Big Mom comes, it might be really difficult to finish anything. So this is something that you can do. Also, if you have expectation that the next turn the opponent will clear your board, maybe don't attack with all the characters. If you are already at 10 Dawn, it might be smarter to split the Dawn, maybe do some 10k attacks and keep part of your board standing, or do some smaller attacks, maybe 7k, and ensure that you populate the board for the next turn, because you always need to count that one of the characters will be removed by the Big Mom and they will heal 1 life. This is the most basic calculation here. But like I said, it will come with the experience. If you play the matchup more, then you will understand the late game a little bit better. For now, I would like you to focus to play the early game properly and ensure as many 6k and 7k attacks as possible, and then you can win the games out of nowhere. So this is normal progression for the going first curve, but let's take a look on some alternate choice that we can do in the early game to also have favor in this matchup. So if we go first and our hand contains Nami, Makino, and the best would be the event or a blocker, but you can also keep the hand if it's relatively good with just Nami and Makino. Then we can do some cheesy strategy that ensures a lot of 6k attacks and also the event activation. So the thing you want to do, you play Nami as always, you pick whatever you are missing or need, but then when we untap the next turn, the board from Luffy should be still empty. We will have 3 Dawn. And this is crucial because Luffy, being 6000 power leader, can clear anything that we play off our chopper, so it's not the best play to have something cleared. But if we don't play anything, then they can choose to starve us and don't attack anything. So what we can do a fork to make both decisions bad for Luffy. And how we do it? We attach 1 Dawn to ZORO, and like I previously said, if we have already the Makino in hand on draw it for turn, we can play Makino for 1 Dawn and buff Nami to perform 6k attack and then swing also with the leader. And now we created the situation on the board that our opponent on their next turn can attack only with leader to get rid either of Makino or Nami. And they want to get rid of either of them because Makino can buff Nami every turn. So if they don't attack, then it's a huge mistake and we are happy, but it normally doesn't happen. And then with 1 Dawn, we have interesting choice. If we have event, then if on their turn they attack into either of them, we replace them with the character, and the best case scenario will be obviously this chopper, because then we trade 1 character for the stronger one that will still attack for 6k the next turn. So basically nothing changed, they just wasted the attack. So this is one possibility, but there is also another interesting tactic here if we don't have the event, but if we have the blocker chopper, because then we play the blocker chopper for 1 Dawn and we are also safe on the next turn because they need to attack into either of them, and we just say okay, we block, and look what just happened. On the second turn we already did 2 6k attacks. On the third turn we will do minimum another 2, so already 4 6k attacks just thanks to this strategy. So then if we untap here, let's keep the Dawn under the ZORO to keep it simple, but the point is the situation is similar as before, but we already have easy attacks. So we have 6 and 6, and then it depends what we have in hand. If we want to go crazy with the attacks, maybe we read the opponent's hand that is not too good, we go with ZORO, and then again really good turn for us because we have 1 Dawn up again, either for another chopper or still for the event. So this is something to keep in mind. Obviously, if we have this chopper, we can play him as well. So any strong free cost character, we normally still want to play here. But it's important to notice that Makino and Nami together are basically 6k swing every turn for free when they stick. So it's worth to defend them with blocker chopper. So this is another setup that you can do to have even faster advantage over the Luffy, and if the hand is not the best, they are in for a really bad time and we can chase them really fast. Like I said, normally 4th turn or 5th turn, the latest, you should be winning this encounter. And then going second, like I said, I'm not a fan of going second, but that's why we play this Sanji. That is really key in this turn order, because we can play him on our first turn, going second, and then a lot of things are dependent how good the hand from Luffy is, because like I said, if they play the build with the cards that I showcased, it might be really hard to come back if they start clearing the board so fast and ramping in the same time. But like I said, they need to have a perfect hand, and this is a card game. Hands are different every game, so we try to capitalize on the mistakes or maybe not optimal deck building from our opponent. So by playing Sanji on our 2-Dawn turn, on the 4-Dawn turn we have some interesting choices to make. First of all, we will need our Dawn tapped for that, and the most optimal play would be obviously by bringing the chopper, and this is the turn where I would play the chopper first if I have 1 cost even in hand, because even if I'm risking the event, we need really strong turns to take over Luffy when we are going second. So you're resting 3, and if our chopper can bring the chopper that gives us the rested Dawn to the leader, then we are really happy. We can almost call it a high roll, because by that we can swing 6 with Zoro. We can use the effect from Sanji to get resources from life and attach 2 and swing 8. So we have 2 strong swings. We have 2 rested characters on board. If they didn't play a character, they have only 1 attack, and we have 1 Dawn open. So the ideal scenario here would be to either have, again, event or a blocker, because depending on the hand from Luffy, they might be not able to clear the board like that. And if we save the Sanji, then the next turn will be even more disgusting, because going second, we do the turns similar as going first. The only difference is that the Sanji fits really well, and if we are able to keep him alive, we get free resources from life. And normally, if it's possible, try to use Sanji effect before attacking, just in case of the trigger. So if I played the chopper first, get the Dawn to Zoro, whatever, 2 Dawn were already rested, better activate Sanji effect to get resources from life in case they trigger something and remove the Sanji from the board. The afterwards progression is similar, the only difference is that you are safer with 1 extra Dawn to keep for blocker or the event. But that's not all, there is one last cheesy strategy going second, but this is really high rolly and might seem weird, so let me present it to you. So let's say you are going second and you open this hand. I would keep it because it can do some crazy things. So simple as that. Our first turn we play 2 1-cost characters. We don't care for keeping the Dawn up, because good players will not attack you if you keep the Dawn up. It doesn't matter. It's better to search for 2 cards than to waste 1 Dawn open and not develop the board, especially if you have 2 Makino in hand, which is crazy, but it's possible, it happens sometimes. So the next turn you will untap with 4 Dawn. And this is where the magic happens, because you can attach 1 to leader, swing, then play 1 Makino, buff, swing, so you have second attack, and play another one, buff, Kureha, swing. So in total, just on the second turn, we just did 3 swings, and that's not all, because we still have 1 Dawn up. So again, either event or the blocker. And what happens if Luffy missed the free cost character that most likely is Zoro? I think they don't play any other free cost characters. Then they have 1 swing. And what happens if they have 1 swing? They need to clear either one of them, and then boom, we have the event. Or another scenario, we might have the blocker, even better. Then we just block and we have another 3 swings next turn. And the game can be over really fast, and those 2 cards replace themselves if you find something from the search. So it's even more backbreaking for them, because they are really on a timer, as you can be finding rushers, choppers, events, and so on. So this is really cheesy, like don't mulligan for this hand, but if the stars align and you open the hand like that, then you can do some really crazy turns. And that's it for today. I hope this video helped you understand the matchup a little bit better. Let me know in the comments what is your opinion. Which leader do you think is stronger? Is it Red Zoro or Blue Purple Luffy, and why? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.